Kuzampo, and welcome to this program. Well, we are here with visit students from the United States of America, especially from Harvard University here with me. They are going to talk about their professional life there, what they do, and about their universities and also their course of studies there. They are on a visit here in our country along with Mr. Kingasring, the former member of parliament here in Bhutan. I would like to welcome every one of you to Bhutan and also to Bhutan Broadcasting Service. First of all, I would like to ask Mr. Kinga to tell us about the purpose of their visit here in Bhutan. Why are they here?
Yes. Thank you, Kinzang, and Kuzombo. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. We are here with actually 50 of our friends from Harvard and then also MIT. Just to greet the new year, 2019. All of us are here from over 13 different countries, starting from Abu Dhabi to New Zealand. And then all various professional backgrounds, starting from, again, biomedical engineering to artificial intelligence to social works. And they're all here inspired and have embarked on a journey to find out what GNH and Happiness Index is all about in Bhutan. And also curious to find out about our spicy chilies. And as I said, what do we really wear underneath our national dresses? So I'm really happy that all of them, they could have chosen to be anywhere else at this time of the year, but they choose to be in Bhutan. So I'm very grateful and happy that they're all here with us today. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to start with Lucas. What did you learn here in Bhutan in the last couple of days you're here?
Yeah.
What was your impression like?
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much for having us. I think for all of us, it was really a great time so far. We really learned a lot. Just briefly, on my own background, I was born and raised in Switzerland, which is a country at the heart of Europe. And in many ways, a lot of the things I've seen here have reminded me of my home country. Both countries, they are very similar in terms of size. Both countries are landlocked. Hydropower is very important. They're very mountainous as well. So it was very inspiring to see how people here think about certain things. And I think there are a lot of elements that we can take back to our own countries, as I will do once I go back to Switzerland again.
But, when you say you want to take back to your country, what would be the first thing that you want to take back to your country? Any idea, anything from Bhutan?
Yeah, I think what is really great about Bhutan is that it teaches the world a different way to think about things. We at the business school did a class on Bhutan just to explore the concepts of national happiness, for example, about environmental preservation. And I think there are a lot of elements that we, for example, in Switzerland can learn in this respect. Just how to think differently about economic development and how to balance different goals when progressing as a nation.
Okay, what about Zaha?
I think I study at the Harvard Divinity School, and I'm studying theological studies as well as public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And so I'm deeply interested in the role of religion and spirituality in people's lives, both in their private as well as in their public lives. And I am originally from Iran, which is a theocracy. And so I'm deeply fascinated by the role of Buddhism in how you understand public life here and how it inspires public service in Bhutan. So that's my motivation. And what I've learned here is that Buddhism has inspired all these qualities in the way people interact with each other. I think the key word, the key buzzword that has resonated with us in the last few days is compassion. And it came across in the village that we visited, in the people who invited us to their homes and served us tea. It came across today when yesterday when we visited a nunnery, and the nun spoke of the importance of compassion, and then today as well when we spoke with the Prime Minister himself. And so I think compassion is something that all of us can take back to our communities and practice both in our private and in our public lives.
But was it the same that whatever you have learned or heard about Bhutan when you actually come here in Bhutan, and what difference did you find?
For me, the gross national happiness concept was really the main thing that I had with me when I came here. What I learned is that, and this was the discussion point today is that happiness is many things for different people, and that sure, Bhutan is has come up with metrics to quantify that, but this idea of the pursuit of happiness is a very individual journey, and I thoroughly love that. And the idea that it is, you know, where we come from, the kind of societies we live in, we talk about happiness, but we live in pretty disconnected societies despite being very connected on the internet and social media. But people here are every time two people meet, you feel like they really want to connect on a human level, and that thing is really profound for me, and I hope we can all take it back to where we come from.
Okay, what about Jan? What was your impression when you landed here in Bhutan, and in the last 1 or 2 days, did you try to interact with people and actually get first-hand knowledge about Bhutan from the people?
Yes, absolutely. I have studied at Harvard and MIT both, and it has been my dream for 10 years to come to Bhutan. And thanks to Kinga, finally we are here, and what a time to celebrate the beginning of 2019. Before the trip, I had 3 things I was very excited about. And to your question about arriving, one of them happened immediately. I had heard about the natural beauty of Bhutan, flying past Mount Everest, through the valley, and then coming to such a country where there is so much respect for the environment, and having that as part of the gross national happiness. The second thing I had heard, and that I was able to see and absolutely interact with the people one-on-one, was the pride and love for your culture and for the community, that the Bhutanese spirit and way of life is so represented. And even though you are between 2 very large countries, the largest populations in the world, Bhutan has protected what makes this country so unique, from the dress and the food and the faith, the government, the happiness, the family, everything. It's very powerful to see the way that the heart and the mind comes together. And then finally, of course, the idea that the country can be measured in happiness for the people. That is so intriguing, and something that I feel can apply to so many situations, a relationship with a family, in your own business place, and certainly at the government level. So it has been quite amazing to interact from the villagers who have been in a village of 875 people with their family so close, to today, the members of parliament and the prime minister and their excellencies. So that is lived on a daily basis. And I think, as you've been alluding to, it contributes to the way that in Bhutan, the people we have met are so present, and they are really able to live the moment of their life and find the joy and the peace and the sacredness of this country. So it's quite an extraordinary gift for us to be here.
What about you, Sasha? What was your first impression?
It's a wonderful question, and it's a little bit complicated because this is actually my second time in Bhutan.
Okay.
I had the pleasure of being in this beautiful country back in March, so I've had a little bit of time for everything I learned to sink in. What I love about Bhutan is the dual emphasis not only on GDP, like many other countries do, but also to consider gross national happiness alongside it. My own background at the Harvard Kennedy School was studying how the government and private sector can work together to foster social benefit, particularly through the financial sector. And I work in financial technology and financial inclusion right now. I think too many societies are too quick to dig up resources, burn fossil fuels to power the economy, and so on. And I love how Bhutan is trying to find a whole new economic paradigm of how they can move forward as a society without resorting to some of the mistakes that other countries have made. If you look at both of their neighbors, for example, the big neighbors of China and India, they're taking completely different paths. And I love how Bhutan has been able to learn positively what to take from these countries, but also has learned what to avoid in terms of environmental damage, cultural degradation, and so on. And it's been able to maintain its own unique cultural identity despite being surrounded by these giants.
Okay, Elsa, what do you have to say about Bhutan?
I love Bhutan. I started my career on Wall Street. I was trained as an economist. I worked at the International Monetary Fund, and it was all about the GDP. And I was an expert on that. And I worked on the GDP, all the stuff during the financial crisis. And so my mind is always focused on economic growth. When I was at Harvard, I really got to learn about all the other aspects, the holistic development of human. And I got really fascinated with Bhutan. And one thing that really shocked me or surprised me was someone mentioned the term the national chakra. I've never heard of that term, the national chakra. It's the collective karmic influence that everyone have on each other. Part of my experience was working for President Obama on his re-election campaign. And I know in American politics, we talk about the individuals a lot. And how much people talk about community here was extremely inspiring to me. That we talk about the collective. We think about how the policy affects my neighbors and my cousins. And that's something I really want to bring back to my community, that sense of belonging that we have. And my day job is I'm an entrepreneur, and I started a company that does artificial intelligence. And so as AI come in to replace a lot of jobs that we have, we will start to really ask the question of what does it mean to be a human being? And what is happiness? And I actually see Bhutan being this small nation with a big heart and maybe a big voice on that question of what that looks like.
But with all this that you have learned about Bhutan and especially GNH, do you think with you people with all the knowledge and access with the university there, renowned university, do you think there's a place for GNH, cross-national happiness, in your institutes or in what you learn there?
Well, I think Kinga has an institute that actually is trying to apply that.
I think just to answer that question, Kinzang, it's been quite quite overwhelming in terms of what resources actually places like Harvard and MIT has. I mean, as you have heard from my friends here, the kind of depth of understanding on policy issues, on social issues. So on this particular GNH, actually, there is a book called The Politics of Happiness written by the 25th president of Harvard University, Professor Derek Bogue. And first 2 chapters is all on Bhutan's GNH. And there is also a Center for Happiness at the Harvard University School of Public Health. And their whole focus again is on well-being and happiness. And there is a psychology department where again Professor Danny Gilbert is famous with his book on stumbling on happiness. Then I think Divinity School, I'm in Sahara, and we were taking some classes. Again, the whole idea of how we now reach back to some of the things which probably cosmology and metaphysical things can explain, which modern scientific evidences and evidences and empirical evidences cannot answer. So to answer your question, I think Harvard and MIT is a huge resources where they have done a lot of studies where GNH actually can provide.
When did this thing start there, and what is the response like from the people there?
Well, I mean, as I said, the book, The Politics of Happiness, has been inspired by GNH. So the first 2 chapters actually talks about GNH, Mujla. And then the program, the special program of Center for Happiness at the health school has also been inspired in some ways by GNH. So now they are trying to relate in health the whole question of well-being and then how the reduction of stresses. So there are so many studies now which are really going on where you can probably trace it back. The point of inspiration is definitely GNH. So I think for us, for me representing Bhutan with all my friends here is that even though I'm not an expert on GNH, even though I may probably have, probably they know, as you see, a lot more than I do. But at the same time, I thought I can maybe perhaps provide a channel between Bhutan with my friends, expert friends who are in Bhutan on GNH, with my friends who are experts in MIT and Harvard, and then really make something happen. And I think that is something which has been really, really overwhelming.
The fact that the institutes or the universities way ahead of us, they have everything there. But is there anything that can be perfectly or in tuned or can be applied with our system of governance here, if any one of you would like to, with whatever we have started, the constitutional monarchy or with the democratic form of government that we have now?
So one challenge I have when I see Bhutan is that one concern I have with the GNH in particular is that a lot of the policies might appear to be a little anti-development, whether that's restricting heavy industry or manufacturing. And I know that that's on one hand a little bit of a simplistic interpretation, but I think that it does beg the question, what else will be the foundation of a 21st century Bhutanese economy? Will it remain primarily an agricultural society, or are there other industries from services to technology to hospitality to anything else that can help provide economic opportunities to Bhutanese youth? And that's something which I'm still hoping to explore both with Kinga and the rest of the Trek group, but that's something I'd certainly be interested in helping the nation of Bhutan develop a national strategy for.
And also like adopting the many technological advancement the West, but for small nations or developing nation, it is a challenge to catch up with them. And also if what we call is the digital divide that is there, are you people trying to think about narrowing the gap that is there, the digital divide between the West and also the East or the small nations like Bhutan?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I'd say that while there might be a digital divide in some areas, in other areas Bhutan's actually quite a way ahead. Like broadband penetration is actually higher than many other countries of Bhutan's level of development, and I think that there are other opportunities for Bhutanese students to quickly learn technical skills through online courses. For example, our own Harvard University offers a course CS50 free online for any student to develop quickly computer programming, web development, and data science skills. These opportunities are out there. I just think that Bhutan could benefit from a conduit like the Institute to help them to develop these skills for a 21st century economy.
Okay. What would be the advice for Bhutanese youth or younger people who might want to have a place to study there? What is the criteria, or what should they possess? What do they need, including the fees or the application process and all?
Sure.
How is it possible?
Well, they should know that they have friends from all over the world who are studying at Harvard and MIT, who are willing and open to serve as mentors and in supporting them in their application process. All of us come from very different backgrounds, not just nationalities, but socioeconomic, ethnicities, religious backgrounds, and the young people in Bhutan should know that, you know, whatever aspirations they have, we had aspirations growing up. I personally never thought I would get into Harvard, but I did, and I got into 2 schools. And I think that they should know that they have friends who are willing to support them. We are their resource. So.
Okay, Kinga sir might, please, if you have any.
I think Kinga is pointing at me because I have supported admissions to Harvard. And to further share about the process, first of all, there is great interest in schools in the United States like Harvard and MIT to have Bhutanese students as part of the population, but also many other of the fine universities in other countries. The schools want the diversity of students from around the world, and they would love to have Bhutanese students. And also, they will fund the students. So to not worry about the fees, the tuition, there are many, many scholarships. But of course, that means today in class, they do have to study very hard and work hard, but it is absolutely worth it. And there are ways, hopefully, they can be in touch with us through Kinga and through the Institute of Happiness if they would like mentorship to be able to make this come to pass.
Okay, Kinga sir, are there Bhutanese students there at Harvard or MIT presently? Were there students in the past and also?
Right.
He is one.
I think, although I don't know whether I qualify as a student given my age, because all of them are half my age, right? But I think that's also shows that the kind of openness and diversity that Harvard and MIT has, the age is no bar. And definitely, I think at my age, brain also does not seem to be a bar for me. But yeah, I think we currently have one student at Harvard College from Bhutan. His name is Jambu Kinle, and he is doing computer science and neuroscience and everything that I think Harvard has to offer. And at MIT last year, we had a mid-career as well on the Humphrey Scholarship. His name is Ujwal from the Bhutan Power Corporation. So he has been there for 1 year. And I think as Jen indicated, a lot of the graduate schools, Harvard has 12 graduate schools, MIT has also a lot of graduate schools, and then also undergrad, they are extremely interested. And as a matter of fact, on November 15th, 3 officials from the adult and higher education from the Ministry of Education, they visited in Harvard and MIT. It was like speed dating. They came at night, they had meeting whole day, and the next day they were gone. And but I think it was extremely helpful because one of the things they said was it really did demystify the that we can approach institutions like Harvard and MIT. And as much as I think our Bhutanese colleagues and students want to apply and want to go into Harvard and MIT also want the Bhutanese students to come there so they can organize more treks and come to Bhutan, right? So I think it goes both ways, and I feel that this is a linkage that not only the institutional linkage, but this personal relationship that we build with each other and with the alumni. And Jen, for example, being on the admission committee and board, I think it just increases the chances that for our Bhutanese colleagues and students to get into Harvard and MIT.
Being a technology entrepreneur, I think there's so many ways to learn besides going to Harvard and MIT. I mean, I love my school. I went to both the business school and the Kennedy School of Government. I think the education starts when you try to solve a problem. That's when you really learn. It's like learning a bicycle. You have to get on the bike. So start a business, start a community project for your village. Like do something that solve a problem. That's the start of an education, and maybe it leads to a school, maybe it leads to something else. But I think that's a really great way to learn as well. And also Harvard MIT loves people who like to solve problems. So if you have experience solving problems, you also get in.
Of course. But
Yeah.
what is it like the experience of being at Harvard? If you can guess.
Yeah, I think first of all, it is a great privilege, especially for someone also coming from a smaller country. My parents, they never traveled that much abroad, I have to say. So it was a big step for me, and I think there are a lot of mental barriers along the way, but the community and the ecosystem that I found at Harvard, but also in Boston in general, was really amazing and extremely supportive. And I think especially if you're coming from a smaller country, it is very important that you get out of your country, that you're curious and that you learn about different ways how other nations are doing things. And this is exactly the environment that Harvard or Boston, but also some other hubs all over the world can actually provide, because it is about sharing ideas, about testing things, about getting new perspectives, about learning how people in other countries or on other continents are solving things. And I think that it's really this intellectual curiosity piece that was most important for me when studying in Boston.
Okay, so what you have to, now we are running out of time, and maybe a minute each to tell us your experience of being at Harvard.
Being at Harvard, it's a very humbling experience because you have top-notch people from all over the world who are exploring, solving problems from various different perspectives. And it has taught me that the key to success, the key to solving these problems is harnessing kind of the capacities of all kinds of different people. No single person, individual can solve an issue. You have to do it with other people. So you have to, Harvard has reinforced my belief in working with incredible people to make change.
Okay, Kinga sir, if you can also.
Right, so for me, I think it's in our Bhutanese value also, there's a saying that one word of knowledge actually weighs far, far heavier than 1,000 kilograms of gold or jewelry, right? I think that's really profound in our culture. And for me, I think with that value system among our youth, I wanted to see if I can, in a very small, humble way, provide that conduit between all this expertise and all this compassionate people, so they can link with all this compassionate and all these bright people in Bhutan, so that collectively we can find all the solutions that we are talking about in the world, actually, not only for Bhutan, not only for the region, but for the entire world.
Okay.
So at Harvard and at MIT both, what is so magic is the people. You have both of these schools, their reputations are so strong around the world, it makes them a meeting place. And people go there because they understand it is full of opportunity, but it's because everyone goes there that then it is so extraordinary. And it's the relationships that carry with you throughout your life. So I think, as with all places where we find so much meaning, it is who we share it with. And having such friends and people like Kinga, who has now literally taken us across the world to his home, that willingness to be so supportive, it is a very, very special place for that to happen. And then that is why it would be so wonderful to have more Bhutanese coming to the school. We need our Bhutanese friends because we learn so much from them, and everyone learns together.
So I think Jen described it perfectly when she said the people. I think it's really taught me humility as well. I think the day you get your Harvard admissions letter, you're surprised. A week later, you're like, yeah, I got into Harvard. But then you actually start class and you think, oh my God, everybody here is so much smarter than me. They've done so many other things with their lives, and what am I doing here? But the opportunity to meet people like that and to get exposed to career opportunities where you're like, I didn't even know that was a career opportunity. The opportunity to meet brilliant people like Kinga, who brought us all the way here to Bhutan, in my case now twice. That is such an invaluable experience. And I think just being open-minded to the different sorts of people you meet and being able to learn from the experience and the diversity in values of others is what I appreciated most at Harvard.
Okay.
Harvard taught me about leadership. It means responsibility. So before Harvard, I was always waiting for someone to tell me what the answer is. These big problems in the world, someone's going to fix it. I'm going to do my own thing. And at Harvard, I gained the sense of agency, that I can be the one to create a solution to a problem that no one had dared to solve. And my professor inspired me that given all the things on challenges that we have in the world now, we have to be the one to take the lead and make the change happen. Because if not me, who? And if not now, when?
Okay. I would like to thank every one of you for coming to Bhutan and also coming to BBS and telling us about Harvard and also MIT. Even briefly, I think there was well said and enough said about, I think, our youth, especially those who are in colleges or those who are finishing high schools, would like to look forward to go to Harvard or MIT in future to study there, learn so much there. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for watching.